Hey Houston, hey world, this is Vicky Cruz with the Hero Network, and we are excited to have you back. And again, we want to welcome everyone that has been watching our show. We're so excited to be here. And today's episode, we have someone exciting, but in the meantime, that's going to share with you a new book and a little information about herself. In the meantime, what I want to do is introduce to you a co-host, someone who just stepped in because Victor had to take a short break today, only today, Victor. He has an engagement over at the University of Houston, and he's like, "Hey, Vic, I can't make it." I said, "Well, let's get someone new, and not new, but just temporary, but of course new again."
Yes.
We'll bring Marcos Cabrera back onto the show.
Yes.
And but Marcos, thank you so much.
I'm glad to be here. Vicky, it's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Doctor. I heard something going on this weekend. What you got going on?
Oh, well, no, we had something go on this weekend. We did. Thank you for asking. We had, but we do have something going on this weekend, and we'll talk about that as well.
Okay.
But we had a symposium for our heroes. There at Milby, we were invited to speak to 200 students. We invited 200 students. Some of them were, at risk, students that had been short on attendance. And so we created this program, basically, Where Are You Going? It's a book that I'm writing. It's called Where Are You Going? And so these students got to hear my at-risk story about being a teenage pregnant mom, but just how I got there. It wasn't about where are you going, but it's like, how did I actually arrive to that place of teenage pregnancy? I didn't wake up pregnant, right? And so I just kind of just talked about self-worth, but it was amazing. But today, thank you so much for asking. That was, we're going to have so much more, Marcos, and I can't wait for you to be a part of that.
I can't wait either. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
So Marcos jumped in because of his story, and but what we're gonna do is talk to you about a story of someone who, has done amazing things for our community, for herself. It's amazing to just to hear. Let's turn this over to Dr. Maxine Mendez, book author, veteran, educator. Welcome to the show, Dr. Mendez.
Thank you, Dr. Vicky. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you.
I look forward to dialoguing about this book and mental illness for those who are incarcerated.
What inspired you to write this book?
The motivation about writing this book came from God. Okay, I woke up one morning at 3:00, and he said,
Get a little closer, Mama.
I need you to write this book, Battling Mental Illness Behind Bars. And I'm like, why are you choosing me to write this book? Even though I suffered or was diagnosed in 2008 with mental illness myself, I suffer with military sexual trauma, PTSD, severe depression, and mood disorder. So between 2008 and now, you want me to write a book? And so I took on the challenge. And during my research, I understood why he wanted me to write the book. I needed to send this message, about what is really going on in the prison system and the judicial system when it comes to those who are incarcerated and also suffering with mental illnesses.
So it's basically this mental illness, too, that would keep individuals in a cycle.
Yes, it would.
It would keep people in cycles to basically not just them, but their generations.
Exactly.
And how they maintain because they can't break free from it.
So my book is a call to action.
It's a call to action.
It's a call to action for those who want to advocate for loved ones who are incarcerated and suffering with mental illness. It's for policymakers, it's for psychiatrists, psychologists, anyone who wants to know more about the system should pick up a copy of this book.
Okay. That's good to know. I wouldn't.
It is.
It's good to know. You want to add something to it?
Well, I wanted to say that this is a very close topic that touches close to home, because I was incarcerated for 16 years and I got to experience firsthand the effects of mental illness for some. There's it's not one size fits all, right?
No,
and so there's different different people, people need different help. Different
resources.
Yes, resources. Yes, ma'am.
So basically, I mean, of course, we're the individuals that are incarcerated come in escaping the fact that, guess what, they may be incarcerated, paying the price for punishment, and yet they are still being punished when they come right back out, because the transformation, the mindset has not yet been cured or healed.
Yes.
And so when they do come back out, give me the statistics behind them going back in.
It's very high. It's about 80%.
80% will go back in.
80% will be reoffenders.
Yes.
So the book, Battling Mental Illness Behind Bars, viewers, this is the book here. Talk to us about, outline to us, if the overview, what is it that you would want the viewers that are listening to this to saying, hey, yes, if you've been incarcerated or you have a loved one, because this sounds like this is a movement.
It is.
It's a movement.
Yes.
It is. It is a movement.
Share what is this about?
The book, the first character in the book is I had to deal with my own daughter being incarcerated. So the first character in the book, Red, the story is about my daughter. I needed to tell her story because she suffered with bipolar, post-traumatic psychosis, severe depression, borderline personality disorder. And instead of her going through, there's actually a mental health court system you could go through when you are suffering with mental illness and have to go into the court system. There is a mental health court that you could go through as well. You do not have to go through the regular court system. If you has been diagnosed with mental illnesses, there is a medical court that you should go through instead of the regular court. They did not do that for my daughter. Instead, they gave her 9 years.
Wow.
And while she's incarcerated, she's not getting the treatment.
Correct.
Right.
She's not getting treatment at all. They give her pills.
Yeah.
That's it.
Correct.
She tried to commit suicide while she was incarcerated.
Wow. And I know while she was incarcerated, I know you have your grandbaby,
Yes.
right? And so you've raised your grandbaby.
I've raised him since he was 11 months old. He's now 8.
He's now 8 years
He's
old.
now 8 years old.
And I know your daughter just came out.
She did just come out.
How is she doing?
Well, I cannot have any contact with her, because of the parole board for the next 3 years.
For the next 3 years.
For the next 3 years.
And so how does she feel? How does she feel? What was her intake about the book that you wrote?
I told her that I was writing this book, and so she gave me a lot of insight about what was going on in the prison system when it relates to her and her mental journey. So, and then I was able to talk to other individuals who work in the prison system. I was able to do case studies. So there's case studies in the book. I have information about real life experiences of 3 characters in my book. And, this is real.
Yeah.
There's a stigma behind mental illness, and we need to come to the forefront and realize that this is real.
Correct.
The stigma needs to go away. Stop telling people that you're crazy, you're mad, you should get over it. It's not something you're going to get over.
Well, and it's just not that. We also have to take in consideration. We know that words, just constantly hearing those words, especially between loved ones, whether it's your spouse, whether it's, family members or the community, anyone that can refer to you with those words, especially those closer. We have to literally speak life, right? To break those cycles and breathe life into people, because I know that, I have family members as well that I have my own very little sister who suffered. She had, I think she's 3 children, 2 of them while she was incarcerated. So my mother too had to take care of her. So this right here hits home for me. And to hear her come out and sometimes using those words as bipolar, I'm like, no, you're not. You are not. You got the one of, and she does. She really does.
right.
When I see my sister, I see talent. I
Yes.
say, baby girl, you don't know how much talent you have. You have no idea what your story can do, because again, to come out of that cycle is by looking futuristic, having hope, having purpose, knowing that your story, it's not just a story.
No, it's a message.
It's a message.
Yes.
And these stories that are in here, is a message. And so talk to us about these 3 stories, if you can, in a nutshell, of what it was that when you were in these stories, because again, to take on these stories, I mean, you're taking on what happened?
So to take on the stories is as if I was actually incarcerated myself.
I could imagine.
I felt it. When I was writing the book, sometimes I was just crying writing
I
the
want
book.
to cry now for some reason
Yeah,
because I feel
was
something.
crying because to be in incarcerated and then have like the
Get closer, I
parole
want you.
office, the parole officers, not the parole officer, the security, the correction officers
Correction officer, yeah.
using their power
Correct.
to intimidate you. One of the second character, he was raped by a prison guard.
Wow.
And these are stories that may not get told. They talk about it. They
Exactly.
talk about it, but yet the healing and the resources
And
the education, I mean, is it out there for them once that happens?
It depends. It depends on how far that inmate want to go.
Correct.
Because it can be shoved under the carpet
Correct.
and nothing is done. But in my book, I go in detail about the steps an inmate can take or his loved one can take to address those issues and take it to the next level.
Really?
Yes.
So the resource, or basically the
It's in
next
there.
steps, is in there.
It's in there. And not only that, when a person is incarcerated, they go through the intake process. In the intake process, if you suffer from mental illness, you're supposed to be coded in the system. So they know you're suffering from mental illness.
Let me ask you this. Do you write anything about statistics? I mean, we're looking with somebody with Marcos. Marcos, how old were you when you were incarcerated?
So I went in when I was 18. I was almost 19, and I spent 16 years in there. I came home 3 years ago. And so talking about statistics, it says that most inmates will reoffend within 3 years. And so I'm past that, thank God, right? But it is a challenge, and there's so much stigma between getting out and learning how to do different things out here now, Anyway, getting back to the book.
But that's
yeah.
a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point because in my book,
Yeah.
I talk about the different resources once you are out,
Right.
what you could go through is in my book as well.
Awesome.
The different kind of resources. Because if you suffer with mental illness in prison, you're going to still suffer with mental illness when you are released.
Well, especially for someone who's been, a good quality amount of time
Exactly.
in there, and then you're coming out. I mean, it's you definitely need to be empowered, right, for
Right,
better, transition
Transition.
into back to work, right?
Right,
Because you
right.
know that even coming out, there's gonna be a lack of resources. That a normal person or citizen will get, resident. So let's go back into the stories here because I mean, you talk about someone who was raped by a guard.
Yep.
Okay,
Talk about someone who tried to commit suicide.
someone who tried to commit suicide. Okay,
And the other one was the empowerment of the prisons, the prison guards using their power to deviate from people getting treatment when they are suffering with mental illness. Lack of training.
the lack of training.
The lack of
for
training
the guards.
For the guards.
Got it.
And having no empathy.
Yeah.
They don't.
Well, a lot of them too have to walk in as a guard, because I know a lot of guard friends where it's like you can't, you're working with people that are incarcerated. I mean, and to their defense,
Yes.
it's like they probably have had their journey with someone
Exactly.
who suffered
Yes.
mental illness.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
the guard is on guard.
They are
right?
on guard,
They're on
yes.
guard.
They're on guard.
And so maybe at that time is that the system should look at the mental health for guards as well,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
Because I mean, these guards, I mean, from what I understand too, have a heavy life at home.
They do.
Right?
Yes.
And
They
so
do.
sometimes their stress is coming home, because I've heard it from both sides as well. Because again, I mean, mental illness is in everyone. I mean, imagine the cycle remaining in the prison system, right? Between mental health. So it's like there's so much to write about.
It's a lot to write about. It's a lot to write
is a
about.
lot.
It is. But there are some prison system like the one in California. They have I actually mentioned it in the book. They have a wonderful program that that specifically for incarcerated individuals who suffer with mental illness in California.
So you titled this, you said here, A Book of Strength, Determination,
And will.
and Will. Tell us more.
Well, while going through these stories, these three characters dealt with a lot, and they were determined to not allow it to define them. Like for instance, my daughter, while she was in there, she got a paralegal degree. She got baptized. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she said, when she get out, she does not want the prison system or the fact that she was incarcerated to define who she is. So it takes a lot of determination
Correct.
and will, to even be incarcerated and have to go through all your struggles, suffering with mental illness as well.
Now, let me ask you something with your daughter, she going in there. And then you have, the other stories that you're writing, are they males or females?
There's a male.
There's one male and the
one.
other two females.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And my second character, he actually finished college, but he had mental illness. He was diagnosed since he was like 16. So then he ended up on the streets being homeless. And, through that, being homeless on the street, he became an offender because he tried to kill someone,
Wow.
and that's how he ended up being incarcerated.
Wow. And so now you.
With drugs. And drugs is a big factor too.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
Drug is a big factor.
Yes.
Even though the number one cause of suicide in prison is because of mental illness.
So do you have any statistics on the suicide?
It is in the book.
It is in the book?
It is in the book.
It's in the book when it comes to suicide. Got it.
It's very high.
Very high. Okay.
And I, excuse me, sorry. From
Go
personal
ahead.
experience, I got, fortunately, I got to witness those suicides. I had a guy that lived right under me, and it was on a Thanksgiving, and I spoke to him the day before, and everything seemed fine. And next thing you know, he committed suicide. In the cell, and it was you build relationships with people, and it's like, man, you don't know what somebody's going through in there. And so it's just one aspect of when it comes to the guards and stuff like that, administration. I mean, sometimes we'll just get put in a cell.
Yes.
If you act up,
Exactly.
and you get locked in a cell. I don't know if you heard solitary
Yes.
confinement.
Solitary confinement.
And there's a big issue on that, because that is not helpful, especially when somebody's dealing with mental illness.
Exactly.
And it only.
And that's what caused my daughter
Yeah.
to try to commit suicide. She was put in confinement for 30 days and she
Right.
was not able to contact me.
Wow.
And she got really upset because I am her support system.
Right.
Like right now she's out. I am her only support system. And the courts and parole board said, you cannot have any contact with your mom.
Wow.
And I cry about it because I don't know what's going on with her. I am her only support system.
Her only support system.
Only support
and
system.
so I know she was recently out.
Yes.
And she's been placed in a safe home.
Yes, she is.
And getting the resources there as well. Is she
Absolutely.
getting what she needs?
Yes, she is.
Okay,
Yes, she
great.
is. And
Yes.
that's wonderful. To be released, and then there are resources out there for you when you're released.
Okay.
So in my book, I talk about some of the resources that are available. Like the community health programs and stuff like that you could register in. So I talk about those things in the book. What you could do after you are released. And trying to stay on a clear path to not reoffend.
Correct. So again, viewers, this book here is about the hope to anyone who's been incarcerated, family members who've been incarcerated, or anyone that just, I mean, because there's people that are out there like just that have a passion. And so I appreciate the fact that you talk and you provide the resources, the guidance, the next steps, and how the movement can work. So this Saturday, I want to share with you too, Dr. Maxine has a book signing out in Humble.
Yes, I do.
And you want to share with the viewers and the listeners about that book signing that you're having so they can come out and meet you personally?
Yes. Unfortunately, it's at my house, but anyone is welcome. You know, I live in Humble. You'll put the address on the
Yeah,
thing.
we can. You can do it. We can do it. Absolutely, we can.
Okay, so we'll put the address out, and it starts at 5. So come on out. You know, I'll have refreshment and goodies, and you'll be able to talk to me, and you know, we'll talk about the book, and you know, we'll talk about some of the resources in the book, and you know, how we can actually start a movement. You know, you know, to advocate for change.
Absolutely. So, and if you're watching this video, I'm going to ask you to please go ahead and tag anyone that is in working with resources, whether it's, you know, housing, you know, mental health, any sort of health, anything, any kind of resources. Please, let's put it out there so we can all just work together as a community and share that among Dr. Williams and Marco's here, who has a heavy hand, because I think you're right now are you doing outreach in the prisons?
I have been going back.
Wow.
Yes.
Isn't that awesome?
That's so awesome.
Yes, ma'am. So even while I was on parole, I asked to volunteer, right? So I volunteered going back into prisons now and just sharing hope with the guys. Same, you know, and because that's what worked for me. We talked about programs. For me, it was the faith and the classes that they had there, and I started actively. You know, I had to be intentional about it, and so yeah. I mean, the Lord worked on me, and I'm going back and I'm just sharing love with the guys. You know,
That's
giving
good.
back hope.
That's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. But you know, I mean, I commend you for that, because I do believe, because you know, the transformation through faith, you know, through God, and many brothers that have been incarcerated, I mean, are now leading churches and shepherding, and I mean, I think that's amazing.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. I see a lot. I see people, what, you know, he's doing inside. You know, I have friends, and a really good friend that's in there now, that has been making impact while he's out here serving. So it's about that community coming together. So please, again, if you're watching this video, I'm going to ask that you go ahead and please tag. I want to talk about Dr. Maxine Mendez, who is also a book author. I asked, I said, hey, how many other books have you published? And she's like, this is my 7th one. I'm like, woo, Dr. Mendez. So your other books, you have, you want to kind of talk about those?
Yes. So my first book was on how you're turning your dreams into a reality, your nonprofit guide. Because I started a nonprofit. It's not really active right now. And you know, when I went out there and trying to find somebody to start my nonprofit, they were charging me $1,800. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna pay $1,800.
Yeah.
So I started research.
Right.
And doing my research, I developed a book.
Yeah.
You know, it's from the time you name your nonprofit all the way till you have a board. Wow. So I developed my, and then the second one, okay, I want to start my business. I'm not going to pay somebody all that money. So I wrote a book on how to start your DBA, LLC, and corporation.
Yeah.
So it's all in my book.
Yeah. So Dr. Mendez,
She's got it happening.
Exactly. Dr. Mendez was my, she did our hero trademark. So she was my go-to for that as well. So thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
welcome. You're welcome.
And so, so your other books on starting a business, nonprofit.
And so my third one is passive income. Who doesn't want to know about passive income?
I need that.
Yeah,
mean,
right?
I have almost 200 different types of passive income. I did in-depth research on this book. And then my fourth book is about how to get into, how to let colleges, how to get into your college, the college of your dreams. Okay, so it's for high school students.
Right.
Oh, cool.
So in my book, I talk about all of the Ivy League colleges. I talk about the different type of essays you can write to get into these colleges. I talk about volunteering, you know, how does play into getting into colleges. So it goes really in depth about if you really want to get into the college of your dream or your desire, these are what you can do, the steps that you could take, you know, to get into these colleges,
Right.
and the essay you can write, to get into these colleges.
Nice.
So I that one is specifically for high schoolers.
We need to get connected with that.
Yes,
because
it's a really
we
good
can,
book.
Absolutely, we can definitely do that. We can with the Hero program, as you know,
Absolutely.
get these students empowered. With giving them the resources, because that's exactly what we're doing with them right now. It's basically to self-assess their personal needs,
would be a
emotional
great
needs,
book.
but also to set future, like how. And so one of the big needs that they wanted was college scholarship information
Right.
and mentorship information.
Exactly. And even in the book, I talk about when you go to college, how to budget. Because a lot of kids don't have a budget.
No.
And how to write your resume.
How to set an alarm clock. Go ahead.
Out of, resume writing and stuff like that. So that's all in the book.
Great.
And how to use the resources that are on campus for you.
Nice.
Where can we get this book?
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
It's on Amazon. All my books are on Amazon. Battling Mental Illness is on Barnes & Noble. It's also on Walmart.com.
Wow.
So it's getting out there.
It's getting out there.
It's
We've
getting
got to
out
do that. I wanted to talk to you about your military background. So for those that are watching, Dr. Maxine also is a veteran.
Yes.
And we talked about PTSD when it comes to veterans and what have you. So you want to talk about that, like your
Yes.
background in the military?
Yeah, so I spent 10 years in the United States Army. And I had to go through, I was raped while I was in the military. So it actually helped put a pause on my career in the military, because I started suffering with PTSD while I was in the military. So my coping mechanism and skills, it wasn't there anymore. So after 10 years, I just decided that it was time to leave.
So after 10 years, I mean, so you stayed in there, and we talked about that as well, about
Yeah.
PTSD with military.
Yes.
Right, because it's a little kind of confinement area as well, and stories like this, that like just in the prison, it happens inside the military as
happened
well.
inside the
Do you
military.
plan on writing a book on that?
That would be a good book.
That would be a good book.
Military sexual trauma.
Yes, I mean just something
Because,
that I mean.
because for a long time they didn't talk about that. They would not talk about females or even males dealing with sexual trauma in the military. It was shunned. You don't talk about those things.
Correct.
I'm just starting to even open up about it myself
Yep, I know.
because of the stigma.
The stigma. And I know that, I mean, of course, writing this book here and writing it in other stories, and like you said, you crying and getting healing.
Yeah.
I can totally relate,
Yeah.
writing my own book, stepping out, because it's like, well, what happened, with your story? It's like, you've got to totally step out and see yourself as that 12-year-old, 13-year-old
Exactly.
little girl, the 15-year-old little girl, the 17-year-old woman that you're becoming, the mother that you're becoming. And it's like, wow, you're looking back and saying, that was me.
Yeah, but not only that, it's like, how can policymaker and the judicial system see individuals really suffering these mental illnesses and incarcerate them and not then giving them the proper treatment that they do deserve?
Correct.
What are going to happen when they do get released? They're still going to be suffering with mental illness.
Correct.
And they're going to be angry and even worse
So yeah, just keeping them in that same cycle.
in that cycle.
Right.
And the cycle, which is just the money pit, probably
Yeah.
money pit cycle too. So, and anything else as far as the book is concerned? Do you have a question, Marcos, you want to ask?
Well, I wanted to ask, what did you said the people that you wrote about?
Yes.
I mean, okay. So are these?
But that's not their names.
Right,
I
right.
gave them names.
Right.
And I put twist on some of the stories.
And the story is most likely like their
It's their
story
life.
leading up to their
it's
life.
their life.
Okay.
It's their life.
Okay. I
You
thought it
know?
was from a prison standpoint,
No,
like inside.
it starts from their
Okay.
life.
Right. Okay.
It starts from before they got incarcerated and what led them to be incarcerated.
Right.
And what are they dealing with now that they're incarcerated?
Right.
So I really need to have a second book, when they release.
Yeah.
When they're released,
Absolutely.
absolutely. The background, yeah, part 2 for sure. That would be nice. So, so we're gonna have information, viewers, about the book signing, and a little bit more about Dr. Maxine Mendez. Amazing, as you can just hear these last 20, 30 minutes of the show. She's all about the empowerment. She's all about empowering, whether it's a business, whether it's a nonprofit, just about almost anything.
Anything. I believe in financial freedom, and I believe that I never allow my mental illness to define me or even stop me from what I wanted to achieve. I worked for the federal government, United States Department of Agriculture, for 12 years. And I was the only African-American auditor on my team. So my mental illness and what I suffer with, I do not allow it to stop me from getting to where I want to go.
Awesome.
I embrace it, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that we embrace it because of the trauma, whether it's childhood trauma, whether it's being going through what we did, these assaults, right?
Yes.
Going through these kind of things where it basically just rips us up into pieces. I mean, can rip you up. And it's like, you know what? I think that because of that, and I'm sure you can testify, it's why we want to go out and fix what's broken, right? To not allow anyone else. And it's probably why you are so driven. I mean,
I am very driven. And the reason why I'm also driven is, I suffer with mental illness, and to have loved ones who don't even understand you and constantly throw in your face, oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're mad. You should be getting over that by now. It's been 20 something years. No, you just don't get over it. No, So this book is about knowledge. It's about information that you need to get a hold of. And if you have loved ones who are not even incarcerated, but even suffering mental illness, this book will highlight all of the triggers and how you can actually assist your loved ones. Instead of beating them down, assist them.
Correct. And I do appreciate that. I mean, and I can only almost, pray that this here would also strengthen, because as a mother, I don't care if the mother and daughter bonds are crucial.
It is.
Crucial.
It is.
And it's unfortunate that, there's so many barriers that try to come. And my prayer is that, that bond between you and your daughter will just get stronger, even though you're miles apart, even though you were bars apart, right?
But you know what? It's as if I was there.
Correct.
My daughter was incarcerated for 7 years, and I was there with her.
Every step of the way.
Every step of the way.
And you're her son.
Yes. I'm raised, he calls me mommy. I'm mommy.
Correct.
It's been 8 years. Right. And he looks at me, I'm mommy. He calls me mommy.
Correct. Yeah. And your her child, your babies together, that, that bond that you were able to formulate to have her as close as possible. Right. And so, we talked about her background, everything you do, your books and where they can find them. And then we also talked about your military background. I know you have 20 years of, I want them to know about the 20 years of HR management.
Yes, I do. Well, it started in the military because I was personnel. So,
I was too, yeah. We have some, go ahead.
And my passion about, within the HR industry, helping people, I did awards. I did help people with who were leaving the military. So, payroll. So I've always liked that. My first degree is in HR. My bachelor's degree is in HR. And I love HR. I love the people aspect of it, and being a partner in a company when it comes to HR. So, now I have my business. I do HR staffing. I do classification completion study. I do payroll management, and I write employee handbook. I write policies. So I'm all about HR.
I love, yeah. Yeah, and I can see it, definitely.
Yeah, I'm all about HR.
All about the HR, appraisals.
Everything.
Yep.
HR audit, yes.
Performance management.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So when I heard, because I met your husband, but y'all, the nonprofit you had was also servicing veterans.
Yes, it was. It was servicing homeless veterans and at-risk veterans who suffer with mental illness and are homeless.
Correct. And there's a lot of that, right now with the homeless community viewers. Within these last 4 days, I've really received about 4 calls for seniors that need. One of them is actually a veteran. But they're seniors. And 3 years ago, I spent time in the in the streets. It was full time, so I loved it. So I got to do what I did, my work, and get paid for it.
That's
provide
wonderful.
resources to empower the city and residents. But one thing that I found was that the amount of homelessness for seniors has increased, skyrocketed.
Really?
I can believe that.
Yeah.
Really?
And even with our veterans, it's skyrocketed. And there are resources for them. There's resources for partners out there that can provide.
But let me add this. I've spoken to many homeless veterans, and they want to be on the streets.
Yeah, that's
Really?
true. Yeah.
They want to be on the streets.
Yeah.
They choose to be on the streets.
Some of them, though, suffer with,
They do suffer with
mental.
they do suffer with mental illness,
Right.
but trust me, they'd rather be on the street.
They would rather be in the streets. They would also rather, some of them are on drugs.
Yeah, they are.
So, and suffer with mental illness. And so it's very, unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate.
And so, but we know that through together, through together we can do more. We know that through coming together as a community and just loving one another and listening to stories, because that's so many of them are not heard. And that's what I appreciate about you, Dr. Maxine, is you took the time to hear 3 stories,
Yes.
to get these 3 stories, to take it in, to write it, to get to know these individuals, to know the needs, and to say how together we can make a movement. Marcos, is there anything you want to add?
I would definitely add this. Guys could benefit off of this inside. Their families could buy them and send it to them as well, because
that's true.
This is a lot of knowledge, and it comes in handy. For some guys that are in there, they might have friends in there that are dealing with mental illnesses. You just never know.
You never know. And I mean,
Yeah.
it can also be a study guide, like make a second
Exactly.
little, a study guide for these families and for these inmates that are in.
And for students who wants to even go into law, or who are psychiatrists or psychiatry or anything, this book is a resource.
So we're going to give you the information. We're going to locate any information that Dr. Williams would want to share. We're going to add it to the link below. We are going to also send the information as for her book signing. I'm so excited because I got my personal book today. She signed it. It's in here somewhere.
It
There it is.
So we're taking a picture over there. Say hi, say cheese. So Dr. Maxine, we wish you the best.
you.
What is it? We know we have about 3 minutes left on the show. If you look at the camera, to let the audience know what it is you want them to know about just Dr. Maxine.
Well, Dr. Maxine is an advocate. I'm an advocate for mental illness, veterans. I'm an advocate for those who are incarcerated. You can reach me. I will listen. I'm a good mentor. So I'm available for, anyone who needs Dr. Maxine to be a part of something. I'll come on a talk show. I'll do another podcast. Just invite me. We could talk.
Exactly. I told her she needed her own. I said, look at the studio over here, Dr. Maxine. I said, this is what the next Oprah.
There it is. Come on.
Why not?
As a matter of fact, I actually was like, okay, I'm not going to get Oprah to get this book. Because I'm like, I need Oprah to get my book.
You know what? I think I have an email address for Oprah. I really do. When I was a little girl, I would look at her and I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And then
Yeah.
Victor makes fun of me. I mean, Victor is always making fun of me. He's like, and I wanted to be a fireman and I wanted to be a police officer. And I think we kind of just tapped into everything, right? When we were in the military, I mean, join the military, it's like, hey, you better
Yes.
get your pistols ready.
That's
You better
right.
get that, you better get that water hose
That's
ready.
right. You
I
got-
said, man, we did it all.
That's right.
So it's a pleasure knowing you, and I thank you so much again for
Thank you
doing
so
what
much
you
for
do.
having me.
Yes, and continue to do for us, because I have some more needs around when it comes to the nonprofit and business world
yes.
that I need your guidance on. Dr. Maxine, y'all, Marcos.
Thank you for
Thank-
having me.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. Victor, we miss you. We love you. And you heard her. You heard what she said. She's here to empower. Reach out to her. We're going to put all the information that you need on our link. Share this video. Be sure to continue to invite people to like Aliento Radio. We want to give a shout out to Jose Luis. And until next week, we thank you for those that are watching. And yes, the community is invited to the graduation.
Oh, wow. Congratulations again.
Yeah, so January 25th is the hero graduation. And of course, they said it's a graduation for yes. No, it's not. It's for these children. They have to watch that everything is possible. And that is the reason why it's like you continue to do what you can, because we will not be another statistic. We will not be another statistic at all. And it's like, you know what? There is hope after teenage pregnancy,
There is.
trauma, being, raped or, any sort of other assaults and what have you.
Exactly.
Life moves on. And I thank you for being a woman of empowerment as
Thank
well.
you. Thank you so much.
So again, Houston, again, world, until next week, go out and just make it the best day ever. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome.